This is Sybert signing in to Red Alert 3 on the map BattleBase Beta. In the southwest position, we do have the Cyan Empire, Xiaoguo. Yeah, I'm probably butchering that, but let's move on to the top right position, the northeast. It's the Yellow Soviets, Rordgen. And I have no idea what sound DGEN is supposed to make. But this is from the Chinese server, was sent to me by YZZDPK, and it is from, I believe, like 2012. So things are going to be getting a little bit silly, a little bit crazy, but, you know, Soviet versus Empire is not a matchup we get to see very often these days, and I'm excited to see some more replays from it. Even if this particular replay isn't super modern. Oil Derrick's getting grabbed by both of these players, and actually it's going to be triple dojo production. Now, that's not something you see very often, even on BattleBase Beta, where the center two buildings are so important. A lot of Empire players just try not to trade very many units into conscripts, just due to how cost-effective conscripts are at clearing buildings. You have to do all sorts of silly stuff like this. All of this building micro. Nobody wants to building micro versus Molotov cocktails. Okay, so our Soviet player, he's doing something a little bit interesting with his walls. As you can see there, he's kind of making weird L shapes with his walls. Actually going to be dropping down a sentry gun in the middle there. I guess this kind of makes sense with you'll be protected against Tengus on this side. And I don't even know if you can land Tengus over there, but at any rate, that any Tengu harass that tries to hit the main base will indeed be forced to fight this sentry gun, which, if you're not too familiar, Tengus versus sentry guns doesn't work too well in favor of the Tengus. But Rordgen is going to be losing, actually. I don't know if I agree with that. He just dropped, I have no idea how many Imperial Warriors, at least 4, maybe 5, clearing that building. And that's just, it's nowhere near cost-effective. Conscripts are so cheap in comparison with Imperial Warriors. Bear is going to be blocking both of the potential third refinery locations. Wow, this is a really late mecha bay. I guess that's what happens when you go like triple dojo production in the beginning. You just don't have a lot of money to expand. Third refinery going to be coming down for Rordgen, while Xiaoguo is going to be going for eventually a third. But, I mean, again, either place he goes, it'll be spotted super quickly by our Soviet player. And depending on how our Soviet player wants to play out his tech after his third refinery, he can indeed go for some sort of twin frog combination. Oh, looks like the Oil Derrick did get cleaned up there. And actually going to be cleaning up a couple of conscripts, so these Imperial Warriors aren't completely useless. Is he going to... Wow, he does get another one. Those sickles not too good at cleaning stuff up. But at the same time, he's going to have a lot of harassment opportunities, our Soviet player, to go ahead and hit those Empire players. And of course, as Empire, even as allies, if you ever really take this base, you better be sure that you're not going to lose that Harvester 20 times to just terror drones, because it's so easy to harass any water expansion for a Soviet player. Of course, you can park some sort of naval facility there, or if you're allies, you can throw down an airfield if you really want to. But then between, you know, Twin Frog or Terror Drones, which, oh my gosh. I've noticed the Chinese players tend to do this a little bit more than other players. They just use Terror Drones to be so annoying. They're not necessarily going for the infects as much, but actually one of these sickles is going to be getting eliminated. Oh, the other one does jump away. But they just go for the most annoying plays possible. They'll just switch between locking down all of these different Tengus, trying to eliminate them from the battle. Actually, it looks like Tier 2 was indeed purchased, and that's, you know, like way ahead of the Tier 2 of our Empire player. He's been producing at least 3 Tengus. He's actually got 5 Tengus still out on the field, which means he made at least 6 of them in total. And one of them did get taken out, getting locked down by that terror drone. He's going to be going for the full scout off. He will see, okay, that's basically 3 refinery Soviets, which I don't think he's actually scouted out on this 4th base location. And he's going to have to be very careful. He may be able to find a sweet spot. Oh, no, that is not a sweet spot. 1, 2, and actually, wow, that cliff texture is really weird. As you can see, the destruction texture just looks strange. Okay, so he at least cleans up the terror drone, but those Tengus have not earned their keep at all. Oh my gosh, is he going to lose another Tengu? No, he doesn't lose quite 4. MCV doesn't actually, wait, I don't even think the MCV can get through that wall, as that super reactor is packed pretty tightly. MCV is going to be going for that 4th refinery location. And, oh, is he actually... He's actually jumping in and out of these buildings, isn't he? Oh, he forgets the wrong building, clicks there for a moment, but he actually has a couple of tank busters in these buildings, which is good for him. Also, the bear is going to be causing some havoc, but nice control of these hammer tanks by Rordgen. He's going to be able to crush the majority of those Imperial warriors, not allowing his conscripts to just get taken out, well, except for maybe now these hammer tanks may be heading forward. Nice move here by Rordgen. It's, of course, going to be very cost ineffective for our Empire player to clear out those buildings, so it's going to be pretty beneficial for our Soviet player to just hold those buildings, even if it's not for very long. Can switch over to Molotov cocktails and have a... Oh, okay. Suddenly things are making a bit more sense for our Empire player. His play, he hasn't been really playing harassive. He's more of just been going for that tech. Although tech off of only 3 refineries, he's going to want to get up that 4th refinery at some point, even if it's this one over here, just so he can wall it off and, you know, prevent those terror drones. Although we haven't actually seen a lot of terror drone harass coming out from Rordgen. Again, he pretty much just built the one, and he's been using it to lock down units more than infect. He will get the infect on that harvester, which of course means that this army can just move away, because at the very most, that harvester is going to have to drive quite a distance to actually get healed from that terror drone. And, of course, if he doesn't, then he just gets taken out, and that is a good trade for our Soviet player, going to be able to escape, losing really only that terror drone and a couple of conscripts, which conscripts are not a huge deal as long as you're killing off a lot of those Imperial warriors as well. I have no idea what these Tengus are still doing. They may be able to find a sweet spot up here and attack the harvester as it's loading up with ore, and that looks about like the only spot that they can really hit it. Is just slightly transferring. Oh no, gotta be careful, that sentry gun will rip you apart, Tengus. At the same time, we do need to see some sort of Alright, so he actually sold off that refinery, interestingly enough, which, that is not going to be good. Losing that 3rd harvester while going for the tier 3 tech up. He's just kind of sitting on the tier 2 tech 4 now. These tank busters are being completely unanswered. There's no bears. There's only the twin blade to go ahead and even things up. That 4th refinery for our Soviet player is going to be paying off. He can afford to be a little bit cost ineffective, but he doesn't want to be donating all of his units away. Also, the airfield is over here at the 4th base location. That twin blade is going to be having a heyday, of course, with no good anti-air right on the front lines. It's over here at the 3rd refinery location, still pretending to harass. Those bullfrogs also going to be standing guard, and it looks like the MiG is actually going to be here to make sure that none of these Tengus escape, and he does indeed get the shot. Yeah, okay. He does get the shot, kills off both of those Tengus, and that's 5 or 6 Tengus, which really haven't done a whole lot throughout the course of this game. If you think about all of the Tengus that were produced, he could have had a much faster tier 2. He could have gone maybe 1 or 2 Tengus right at the beginning just to make sure there was no sickles causing him too many problems. But oh, those tank busters, what are you doing? Oh, Xiaoguo. I have no idea how he's going to be able to make this work. His harassment has been ineffective. All of his attack groups have just been shut down so hard. His army has basically been reset at this point. He lost both of his tsunami tanks, and he actually had to sell off his tier 3. He only made it to tier 2 on that mecha bay. He's been sitting on 3 refineries at most, although he does catch a MiG out. However, he's going to have to start pulling out the moves. We need to see either some really fantastic micro to just eat up this entire Soviet army, or he's going to have to go just crazy with the harassment, which this 3rd refinery is pretty much going to be forfeit. But at the same time, our Soviet player, he doesn't actually have any defense here. He's going for the flak cannon. Interesting choice considering that he's got MiGs out on the field, but another MiG is going to be popping out. This harvester is completely forfeit. The refinery has already been killed off by the Soviet player, which means, I mean, killing 1 harvester when the Soviet player is on already the same, well, he was on better economy, and he's still on better economy now that they've both traded out harvesters, cleans up 2 MiGs, which is nice, but these twin blades, or these Tengus, just are not getting the value that they need. That sickle is still just sitting here from earlier in the game, and again, that sentry gun, it's going to be able to pack a bit of a punch against a lot of these Tengus, even with the point defense drones. Oh, another MiG is going to be getting cleaned up, and these twin blades, oh, that is not the engagement that you want. The bullfrogs finally here to protect their twin blade buddies, and that's kind of the essential part of the twin frog combo, is being able to deal with those air units. However, Xiaoguo has bought himself a huge amount of time. He's been able to pump out a couple of more tank busters, a couple of more tsunami tanks, and pulled the entire Soviet army out of position. He is actually going to be going for the surround, And actually, this many Tengus is a good number. Oh, he just completely cleans up that sentry gun. Point defense drone is pretty good. Wasn't actually able to clean up any of the Tengus. However, the bullfrogs are not going to be quite accompanying. They're actually all the way over here, which means if these Tengus transform, goodbye Twin Blades. However, with that Emperor's Rage ability, they do move quite slowly. For those of you who don't know, it gives you more damage output, but it does make your units a bit slower. Now that Flak Cannon is actually going to be coming into effect, but these transform cooldowns should be wearing off relatively soon here, which means Xiaoguo can go ahead and hit that Harvester once again, taking it offline, and now he's trying to even things up economically. But again, this is not great moves, or not necessarily the great moves that he needs to win the game. Donating a couple of Striker VXs, also not really the way to go, but it looks like, alright, Rordgen does leave 3 hammer tanks there to be eaten alive by those tank busters. A little bit unfortunate for him there. And it looks like actually another Twin Blade did get cleaned up. Potentially also another Tengu got eliminated, but he's even the score up as far as harvesters go. Now, this third refinery is back online, which is bad for our Empire player, but as long as he can continue to be cost-effective and force out those expensive Soviet units to just sacrifice themselves like this, you gotta be so careful with Twin Blades. Oh man, against 3 Striker VXs, you have to be careful. The angle of engagement actually isn't too terrible for our Empire player. Again, as long as he's able to get these units actually firing, like say, if you have tank busters, have them actually kill tanks and not just kill flak troopers. So the control could be a little bit better, but overall, it's been all right. And oh, that terror drone did not actually last as long as it could have been. However, the tank busters are able to do a crazy amount of damage, eliminating hammer tank after hammer tank. As you can see, they're ranking up there. 2 of them fully heroic. The third one is not quite able to get there. And now all of these hammer tanks don't have any friends because they're all dead. And the hammer tanks, again, they're just getting completely annihilated throughout the majority of this game. Even a Tesla Trooper brought out onto the battlefield, but that's not really going to be all that helpful in this situation, not just a single Tesla Trooper. Tengus are able to clean up the majority of these forces, but you don't need a whole lot to shut down this expansion when there's nothing here to defend it. Our Soviet player, he's got way too many Twin Blades for this composition. He needs something to supplement him, and he should have stopped building Twin Blades a couple of Twin Blades ago, and either that or just start hitting expansions trying to take out harvesters. However, with Tengus in constant production, it's going to be pretty difficult. That flak cannon still stands, just now going down, but again, our Soviet player, he's constantly pumping out Twin Blades in the face of 4 Striker VXs, which is a huge mistake. How many Twin Blades has he just donated to the Empire Twin Blade killing charity? I'm not entirely sure, but you gotta stay on top of things like that. And now, heading in with 1 hammer tank versus, well, actually, I guess it's only 1 tank buster. Okay, now that tank buster is fully heroic. Can these these bullfrogs rather, actually get any of the kills that they need? Now would be an opportune time for the Twin Blades to come in, but I'm not actually sure how many are left. There's 4 of them still alive. They have waited a little bit too long, and now these Striker VXs may be able to transform, but the control is not fantastic. The bullfrog stopped moving, but another bullfrog does pop out. One of these Strikers is fully heroic. However, the Twin Blades have had enough time to clean up pretty much everything else from our Empire player, and now it's in a very awkward air battle situation. That bullfrog finally kills off all of the Striker VXs, but another air army is out for our Empire player. Moving out across the map, we've got 6 Tengus all mixed in here. Harassment hasn't really been the name of the game, but he can just transform after killing off pretty much all of these Twin Blades, and that's going to give him a fair amount of veterancy. He does lose 2 or 3 of those. No, did he only lose 1? Wow, point defense drone's so good, although he may have lost 2 Tengus. It's hard to tell exactly. Maybe you should stop chasing that bullfrog. All right, so he's now out of range of the flak troopers inside of that civilian structure, but I think going for either the war factory, trying to camp outside of that, going for these harvesters, or potentially this harvester and refinery out here, he needs to get some value hits, our Empire player does, to do something to snub our Soviet player. I mean, Rordgen, again, he hasn't taken a huge amount of infrastructure damage, so he's still sitting on that good 3 refinery economy. He would like to be on 4. Again, Soviet units are pretty darn expensive. And I mean, Tengus are a bit cheaper there, but can he actually hold it up? Oh man, those Twin Blade donations earlier in this game. Oh no, don't give away the tank buster as well. Don't give away the tank buster as well. No need for that. Tengus will be able to eventually clean up this harvester, and going after the refinery, would be a good move, but he already sold it off, so that point is pretty moot. But curbing the economy of the Soviet player can be so important in times like these. And also, deploying your buildings also can be very important. Man, that feels like I'm playing in this with this deployment strategy here, as it takes me so long to remember I actually built cores and that I need to deploy them. Of course, this Empire player is far, far, far better than I am, but seeing those little mistakes is like, okay, they're human too. They make mistakes. I'm glad that top players, which actually I don't know if this guy's top player at the time or top anymore, but he's doing all right. He's better than me, which means that he isn't necessarily very good, but I think we can all assert from this game alone that these players do indeed have some good qualities about them. Again, going to be throwing down that Emperor's Rage, able to put out a bit more damage, and also since he did catch a non-combatant unit, a non-military unit, the Harvester, it's just going to be moving even slower, which adaptive armor already makes it move pretty darn slowly. Bullfrog catches out one, maybe two. Oh my gosh, the range on that Bullfrog when it's heroic is absolutely insane. Conscript's going to be getting a little bit of value just by killing off that oil derrick if they indeed do end up doing that. That terror drone is actually going to be able to escape. Thought maybe with the fully heroic terror... Oh no, there's actually two fully heroic Tengus there just sitting in wait. Maybe it would get caught, but no, it does turn around. It may have turned around a little bit too early. If the Tengus get sight of that, then they'll just go ahead and kill it off, no problemo. Alright, wait a second. I just realized there was a Crusher Crane earlier in this game. Has our Soviet player actually sold off, or rather crushed down his MCV? I didn't even notice, and then the Crusher Crane got cleaned up by the tsunamis earlier in the game. The MCV does get rebuilt, but for so long there, our Soviet player couldn't actually expand. Xiaoguo is going to be moving out. He's got a pretty fearsome army, and oh man. All right, donates a couple more Tengus there, but this is the harassment that Empire players normally are going for. This more of heavy harass style that is a little bit more typical of them. Keeps both of the heroic Tengus alive, which is, oh no, maybe he doesn't keep them alive. We'll have to see with the tsunami tanks coming in. Can they actually get the kills that they need? Eliminating that Bullfrog is so nice. That Bullfrog is cleaned up so much, but the Terror Drone surprise does surprise these tsunami tanks. He needs to get that tsunami tank either killed or away from his friend, so that when the burst drone, no, not the burst drone, so when the Terror Drone steps on out of that tank, that tsunami tank, it doesn't just immediately infect one of his friends. That's of course one of the problems with Terror Drones, is if you're not paying attention, you can just lose so many units to one single Terror Drone. Going for the MCV at this point was probably a bit of a mistake. He was trying, most likely, to get up some more economy, get up that fourth expansion once again, but he will be able to use it as a sponge. He will potentially be able to crush down some of... Wow, did that MCV really do anything? I feel like he hardly did anything at all. Looks like one of the hammer tanks rather does take a weapon from, I'm assuming, a Tengu. Going to be able to put out some damage, and now the Terror Drone has been eliminated. And suddenly, Xiaoguo is just in so much of a better position. From kind of a bad early game for him, he's turned it around, and GM, aka Rordgen, has been able to just get eliminated. What a weird game. Not super weird, but an unusual game for sure. And as you can see, our Soviet player was way ahead in the eco, but again, coming down to just that couple of engagements where our Soviet player, I don't know if he was not paying attention really, but he definitely flubbed more than a couple of things there. Just donating units, taking bad engagements, letting, I'm assumed, bad rally points, because he had a couple of units just split off, and I don't know if he was like, hey, I want to feed my units one by one into my opponent, or more likely it was just bad rally points that he forgot to correct. But yeah, he was over at that kind of high ground third base location, 3rd/4th on the right side of the map. If you guys think back to that engagement, that's where a lot of stuff just went south for our Soviet player. He just kind of he lost that the water third, which was actually his third. He lost that harvester, then he lost so much stuff over at the other 4th base location, and things just went so far south. Our Empire player was able to be far more cost-effective in a lot of those engagements. Even though he went for the faster tech, he was trying to go tier 3. That severely limited his army early game. He never was able to really put on that high-tier, high-tech harassment, or rather army, that he wanted. And our Empire player just kind of flubbed in the mid-game, or he was trying to do something and it didn't work out. I don't know if you want to call that a flub or not. He just got stomped in the early mid-game by our Soviet player, but then he brought it back with some really great engagements, some key mistakes from our Soviet player, kind of handed over a lot of units to him, and in the end, GM, aka Rordgen, does get kicked out of the game in favor of kind of the opposite of a barcode, but Xiaoguo, according to YCZDPK, those are the names of these two players. I hope you enjoyed this game. Some fun action to be had. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.